Howdy friends, SteveDepoe here for the Rose Realty Team. Hey, we work with a lot of first-time home buyers, and as we work with more and more of them, we find that there's really two things that sort of overwhelm them, and that's the terminology involved in the process and then the process itself. So we thought that this week's video series for residential real estate would be explaining some of this process and explaining some of these terminologies to first-time home buyers. Now, maybe you're not a first-time home buyer yourself, and maybe you could pass this video or this email on to somebody who is to help them understand the process. So here we go. So the first step in the process is the pre-qualification for a mortgage. The second step is the home search, which is sort of the fun part. The third step is the offer, which is the offer we're going to make to a seller to buy their house. The next step is the closing. That's where basically the banks get together, we sign all of our paperwork, and the banks get together and transfer the money, and then eventually at the end of it, the house is yours. When we walk away from closing, it's your house. And then finally, the celebration. We believe at the Rose Realty Team that every major milestone in your career or your life should be celebrated, and that's the celebration part. So here we go, the pre-qualification for a mortgage. There's really two things that are really important when you talk about pre-qualification for a mortgage, and that's your debt-to-income ratio, which I'm going to explain in a moment, and then your credit score. So your debt-to-income ratio is your long-term debt, which is, for example, car loans, student loans, maybe health expenses, installment loan types of things, added together, divided by your monthly gross income. So I'm going to give you an example about that right now. So let's assume for just a second you have a car loan, a student loan, and you're paying off some furniture on an installment plan, which is 4, 5, 6 years. Let's also assume for a moment that your annual salary is $80,000. Okay, now. These long-term debts that I just mentioned here, the $500, $350, and $250, that adds up to $1,100. Okay? Now, you basically take that $1,100 and divide that by your monthly gross income. Your monthly gross income is that $80,000 annual salary divided by 12 gets you $6,666 per month. Now, you take that $1,100, which is the $500, $350, and $250 added together, divide that by the $666.66, and that comes out to 16%. Actually, it's 16.5%. You take that now. Then we're going to start talking about the mortgage itself. So we work with a lot of mortgage lenders who will lend you up to a 50% debt-to-income ratio, which means all your debts piled up. Not your bills, your debts, which is in our case, your $500, $350, and $250, plus your mortgage. They'll lend you up to 50% of that, which is good today. So how do we figure out how much home you can afford? Well, you take that 50% and subtract from it that 16.5%, gives you 33.5%. You with me so far? You take that 33.5% and multiply that times your 666, which is what? Your monthly gross salary, or monthly gross income, and that comes out to roughly $300,000 home. Now, there's a lot of calculations I have to do in the background. I don't want to bore you with or confuse you, but that comes out to roughly a $300,000 home. Now, the second part of your pre-qualification for a mortgage is your credit score. Please, if you take nothing away from this video, except this, it's important. Protect your credit score at all costs, which means you pay your bills on time. Don't get your debts out of whack. Pay your bills early. Get your credit score, get your credit report and look on your credit report to see if there's anything in dispute. Maybe there was some sort of bill where somebody thought it was yours and it wasn't. Maybe you let your sister or a cousin or something like that use a credit score or use your name or something like that, and that kind of threw a little monkey wrench in your credit score. Get those things fixed. Get those things explained. If you need help with your credit score, let us know, and we can put you in contact with people, credit repair companies, mortgage companies, that will give you advice on how to fix your credit score. I'll tell you, we work with a lot of first-time home buyers, like I said. It just breaks our heart when when their credit score is pulled and it's in the 400s or even the 300s. It just makes you want to cry because people are excited about buying a house, and then they find out, bam, they can't do it because their credit score is out the window. Credit score is very, very important. Please protect that at all costs, and we can help you with that. So, like I said, our next step after pre-qualification for the mortgage, our next step is the home search. Let me tell you something. We work with a lot of first-time home buyers, like I said, and a lot of people who are technology oriented. You can't buy a house solely by looking on Zillow. Okay? Yeah, you can look on Zillow, but you know what? You're going to have to get out of the house. You're going to have to get off the mobile device, and we're going to have to go look at the house itself. That's plain and simple. That's the way it works. Sorry, we're not at that point in this country yet where we can just kind of sit at home and buy a house, from the comfort of our easy chair. It's not like that yet. So we're going to have to do a home search, which means we're going to have a conversation to kind of see what kind of house you're looking to buy. How many bedrooms, how many baths, how many car garage, in what area. The Metroplex is a big area. If you live down in, let's say, South Fort Worth, we're not going to show you houses in Plano and Frisco. That's like an hour and a half drive. That's just not going to cut it, right? And so we're going to have this conversation that's going to be, where do you work? Where do you want to work? What kind of house do you want? What kind of house is best for you in the future? Maybe 5 years down the line. We're going to have that conversation. We're going to find the best house for you. Then we're going to put in an offer, which is what? Which is the house that you're looking at is worth X, and you're willing to pay Y for it. A simple little fact here about the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex: houses typically sell for 97% of asking price. Why is that? That's because you have a professional on your side, the Rose Realty team, who's helping you buy a house. On the other side of the equation, there's hopefully a qualified real estate agent on the other side of the transaction who did a competitive market analysis to tell that seller how much the house will sell for. And that 3% is a little negotiation room, right? So not everybody feels like they were taken advantage of. So most houses in the Metroplex sell for around 97% or better. That's their offer. The closing. We sit down at the closing, and you're going to sign a bunch of paperwork. Rest your hand, because there's a stack of paperwork like this that you're going to have to sign. A lot of that's from the bank, from the mortgage company, from the insurance company, etc. We'll walk you through all of that. Don't worry about it. We've got you covered. We got your back. But that's the closing, where we sign all this paperwork. We basically say, yep, I'm going to pay back this loan. I'm going to pay back this mortgage. You'll get the information on where to send your check and all that kind of good stuff. Then what happens is, after all the paperwork is signed, so the seller signs their paperwork and you sign your paperwork, the banks kind of do their thing, and lo and behold, bam, the house is yours. Now it's time to celebrate. You just bought your first house. You're going to go out to dinner. Don't go wild, but you're going to go out to dinner. And then the next day, you know what's going to happen? You're going to go home, and you're going to get a bunch of boxes. You're going to pack them up and throw them in a truck, because you're going to have to move into your new house. Congratulations. We're happy for you. This is Steve DePoe from the Rose Realty team. I'm going to bounce.